Join me as I introduce to you the new IrisDuo halos from Potomac's brands. Remember, with those Potomac's metals, they are high quality metals. If you want to grab any to make this awesome bracelet, go ahead and look below the video. We'll have a link there to get back to our site that lists all the materials that you need to create this beauty. Gather up your supplies and let's get started. So to start, you want to have a size 10 or 11 needle, and because I'm working with the halo beads, which are going to be a little bit heavier, mixing the metals with the glass, I'm using size 8 dragon thread with that size 10 needle, and I have 5 feet that I've stuck a stop bead on. That stop bead, I did leave an additional 8 inches at the end in order to add my clasp enclosure after the fact, because we are going to be doing this project with one needle, going up and continuing to build each component. This is also great for a little pair of earrings too, if you would like to do that. To begin, we're going to pick up our first halo bead along with our bow or quad bow. The quad bow is going to sit outside of the halo, which has the IrisDuo on the interior. We're going to go through the first hole, or the bottommost hole of that quad bow, going toward the interior or the smaller side. Once you're in that interior, you are going to add a series of 11, then a 15, and then one of your 4mm pearls, followed by a 15 and an 11. Go ahead and catch the other side of the next quad bow, starting from the interior, going towards the exterior. That's that captured name there. And you're going to grab that as creating your first little component. Now you can see this is going to move around. Don't worry, as we go in and add the interior, it'll hold its place. Every time you're coming out towards the exterior of the quad bow, you are going to grab a series of 3 beads. 15, 11, 15, and then you're going to go and turn your thread and needle towards the interior of the project. Give a nice tight pull. And now we're coming out the second hole of that left quad bow toward the interior. I'm going to pick up my IrisDuo halo, sewing through that bottom hole, the IrisDuo, and then the bottom hole again on the other side of the halo. I have this front facing because the IrisDuos do have 2 sides. From here, I'm going to take my needle and thread through the second hole of that quad bow on the opposite side and bring my thread to the exterior. Now, because I am doing this with 2 needles, I need to match the design here and get a 15 and an 11 and a 15 on the exterior as well. So you're going to do 15, 11, 15, and re-sew through that first hole, through your 11, 15 pearl, and back around, through the seed beads on the outer edge, laying all that thread through. And then as you're doing so, go all the way over through the 11, through the 15. Take your needle and thread again back through that second hole, going into the quad bow, into the IrisDuo halo, through the IrisDuo, through the halo, and out through the quad bow on the other side. So you're retracing all of those steps as you go in and add this first one in place. From here then, on that exterior, again, 15, 11, 15, get put on your needle. Go from the second hole from the bottom up to the third from the bottom and over to the opposite side. Once again, just like we did to connect back to the first hole, add a 15, 11, 15, and then you're retracing your steps through hole number 2. So you're always going and sewing back a hole on the quad bow before you can progress to the next empty hole. From here then, along the side, sew back through your 15, 11, 15, back through that third hole of the quad bow and out. When you're out through the third hole of the quad bow, you're going to once again add those seed beads along the side, 15, 11, 15. Go now from the third hole through the 4th hole. When you're at the 4th hole of the quad bow there, that's when we're going to repeat our pearls. So we do 11, 15, your 4mm pearl, again 15, 11. So through that 4th hole of the quad bow on the exterior here, so you're skipping over the IrisDuo and you're going to pick up that 4th hole, and as you're going through and picking up the 4th hole then, bring your needle and thread out. You can see some of these, this is a good example to show that sometimes the coating on these will get stuck into that interior hole. It's a good idea to check them first, but if you didn't, like me, you can grab your reamer and you're not twisting, you're just kind of poking through and getting through that exterior little nub that might be stuck in there. Generally speaking, it's the coating that'll get stuck in, and you can clear it out and continue on through. Once you're through the opposite side of that quad bow, again 15, 11, 15, back through that 3rd hole, because remember you're always stepping back a hole in order to get that thread and needle in place and to get those seed beads along the side. So you're going to go back to that 3rd hole after exiting the 4th. Just move those seed beads off to the side a little bit. Go through your IrisDuo halo. Make sure when you go through the IrisDuo halo and you go through the IrisDuo itself that you're also coming out through the 2nd hole of the halo. Sometimes your thread and needle will want to pop out and you don't actually go through that 2nd hole. From here, again, going back through the seed beads. So this is where if you have 2 needles, you can kind of do all of these steps at once. And then once you're through the seed beads along that secondary side, bring your needle and thread out through your quad bow, and then up through your 11-0, your 15-0, and out through your pearl. When you're out through your pearl then, you are going to get ready to do your next component. So the next component, now you know that as you're adding, you're always sewing back a hole as well to add the little seed beads on the exterior edge. So here to start, we need to get that first X effect before we can start our secondary connection of our next component. So you want to add a 15, and then your 11, and then you're going to pick up your next one of your quad bows. When you're looking at which way to go in and add the quad bow and which way to take your thread, you're going from the interior to the exterior because you're starting with that bottom pearl section. So now I have my first quad bow on here, and I need to go in and add my 15, 11, 15, and step up from the 1st hole to the 2nd hole. As I step up to the 2nd hole then, I'm going to go into the interior and add my next halo, IrisDuo, and go through that 2nd hole of the halo. Make sure that it's sitting upright so that your IrisDuos match, and grab your next quad bow, making sure that you're going through hole number 2. As you're out hole number 2 there, we need to decorate the side and come back down through hole number 1. When you come back through hole number 1 here, you're going to want to connect to that pearl. So connecting to the pearl in front, you're going to do the opposite, an 11 and a 15. So back through that pearl connection spot, and then go through the 15 and 11 after, and out through your quad bow. Now you're connected and you can continue on with your component. Continuing on with the component means going through the seed beads here along the side, going through that IrisDuo, coming out through hole number 2, stepping up to 3, circling around, out through hole 3 to 4, circle around, add your pearls, and you're just going to continue with these components over and over again as you link up your bracelet. Once you finish up your bracelet, what you're going to do is attach your clasp to it. So I've already done the one end, and then I've come back and knotted off that thread, and I've come back to the starter thread and took it around the project so that way it is coming out of my pearl. Coming out of my pearl, I want to add a 15, 11, and then another 15. I'm going to then take my Potomac's Infinite clasp, that clasp garden one, and I've glued the cabin in the turquoise to match. And I'm going to make sure that it matches to the other side, that it's facing upward. And then opposite again, 11 in the middle, 2 15s on either side, and back through the purl. Anytime you do a clasp or closure, you always want to make sure, and I know those of you that hear me all the time, you always want to make sure that you are going through and taking your thread through multiple times through that clasp selection. So when I'm going through here, taking it off and on, this is where I have the most tension. I'm going to take my thread and needle, go back through all of that one more time, go back through a third time, and then we're going to knot it off in the project just with that regular sewer's knot, and then glue off the end. So to show how to do that knot, now that I've gone through 3 times, I'm bringing my thread and needle out after the 11 before my first quad bow. I'm going to take my needle and thread down underneath the thread that connects those 2 beads together. I didn't sew through any beads, just underneath the thread. I'm going to create a loop and sew through that loop once with my needle, sew through that loop 2 times with the needle. That's going to create a nice stable knot and then give a nice tight pull, and there you have it. From here then I will take my thread and needle back along towards the outside and turn it to the back, since there is a front and back, although it's kind of reversible in this design with that mirrored back of the marine ice. Burn down your thread end and then burn it close to the project. And that finishes up this lovely captured Iris Halo bracelet. Thanks so much for joining me to create this lovely captured halo bracelet. You can do it in a multitude of different colors, earrings. Can't wait to see your designs in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. Also, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us at Potomac Beads. Just a reminder, if you need links to the products or want to check out the exact details, go ahead below the video to the description and click on the link there. Thanks so much for joining, and stay tuned for more inspirational designs using the new Halo IrisDuo.